you to spend time in your studies. This is evidence that you're not spending time in your studies. But let me tell you that. Talk to the hand. It took months to turn it around. It took months. I mean, I don't know if he didn't believe us. If we just had been so sloppy, we just figured everything's fine because it was fine or it looked fine. But all of a sudden now we're in 2 AP courses and there's work to be done. And we haven't been working. It's that simple, right? Before there wasn't enough work to do, so we hadn't been working. And we'd been getting by with everything. It got such to the point that in order to make sure he understood what we valued, he kept a log of how much time he spent studying. And when he had a big test on Friday, on Thursday night, we celebrated. That's what it took. On Thursday night, we celebrated that he invested the time. Because here's the truth. There's a little bit of luck as to whether or not the questions on that test are the questions you studied. There's a little bit, you're not always going to make A's. I can accept that. What I can't accept is you're not investing time in your work. So, I mean, it took a lot of work to turn that around. When he applied to college, he applied to 4 colleges. What did we celebrate? What did we celebrate? Bingo. Bingo. But you have to drill this into their heads. We celebrated the day he pushed submit. Because all of his work and all of his effort went to the application. And then there's some luck. You know what I mean? And then there's some luck about whether or not you get it. But what you could do, what you could control, was how much time you spent writing those essays, how much time you spent preparing all of that stuff, whether or not you got all the pieces in the puzzle to be. I mean, this is hard. And I think you have to keep vigilant about how you respond to this. When they come home with all A's all the time, isn't it tempting to go, I'm so proud of you? What you need to be saying is, when you catch them reading, say, I am so proud of you. See what I'm saying? When you catch them working hard at a math problem that takes them a long time to solve, I am so proud of you. Now, I'll tell you the time when we finally got it right. Our oldest, in 8th grade, had a lump on his hip, and we thought it was some kind of fatty tissue or something, so they took it off, and they found out it was cancerous, and that the borders weren't clean, so they went back and did another surgery and found out it still wasn't clean, and so they had to do a 3rd surgery. So by the 3rd surgery, they dug into the bone a little bit, so they removed all the muscle. It's pretty ugly. They actually told him, they said, you know, you're going to have a depression by the time we went through. And he said, well, how do you know how I'll feel about this? Like a sunken in place, okay? You know what I mean? But yeah, so we had a sunken in place, right? So we get through all of that, and he's headed into high school, and he has an opportunity to do some fun things, extracurricular activities, but he comes to us in the middle of the summer. And he said, y'all are probably not going to like this. I'll go ahead and take it from you. But I really want to run cross country. Now, let me tell you something. I ain't got running genes to start with. You know what I mean? I somehow avoided PE all the way through grad school. Don't ask. It took a lot of work. I am not a physical person. So first of all, any offspring of mine conceptualizing running is a bit of a stretch. But then when this child has had really muscle removed from the top of it, so we called the surgeons and said, you know, what do you think? They said, well, it won't hurt him, but he's not going to run. You know, just so you know, he's not going to run. We're like, okay, but he wants to try. So we're you sure you understand that? He said, yeah, I want to build my body back. It's the only way I know to be able to do it. So we're like, okay, so we signed on. So I went to the first meet. Now, you also need to know there was another freshman that he'd grown up with, Sandy Roberts, and Sandy in the 9th grade was already listed nationally as a runner. A phenomenal runner. Ended up running for Georgetown and then for NC State one year. Unbelievable runner. Stayed nationally ranked for 9 years. Really unbelievable. And I'm sitting there thinking, you think you're going to be beating Sandy? I mean, really? Are you just delusional? You know what I mean? I don't know. So I went to the first, how many of you have been to a cross-country meet, by the way? Oh my gosh, is it not the world's greatest spectator sport? It is fantastic. I mean, here's the deal. You go to the meet, they shoot off a gun, everybody takes off running into the woods, and you can visit with your friends. Because they're not coming back for 20, 25 minutes. You don't have to pay attention. There are no rules. There are no rules. As far as I know, there are no rules. I don't know. You don't have to be present in the moment. You don't have to worry your child's going to make some big goal and you didn't see it. Because you're going to see it. He's going to come out of the woods. It's going to take a while. You know what I mean? So I loved this sport. I loved it. So here they come, Sandy streaking out of the woods, and it was absolutely beautiful to watch. It was like a symphony on feet. It was gorgeous. So Sandy comes running up, everybody cheers. You know, he wins the race as a ninth grader, and then the next group, and next group, and next group, and next group, and then we got to be ready to water, and then we all washed down, and then they loaded up the bus, and I had to go over to the coach and say, is there another way out of the woods, like an alternate route that I should check? And he said, no. He said, there's only one way out, and he'll get out eventually, but if you don't mind, I got to take the team on back. I'm like, sure, I'll wait. It's getting dark, but I'll wait. So I stood there waiting. I will say he was not the last. There were two others with them. God help their souls. I have no idea what their problem was, but I knew what my child's problem was. So here he comes out, sweating red as a bit. You know, like he's running underwater, you know, and just, you know. And I'm like, oh, this is awful. This is awful. Right? This is awful. So, in my mind, this is his first touch with reality. Because, in my mind, he thought he was going to be up there with Sandy. And now, all of a sudden, how embarrassing is this? The bus is gone. You know what I mean? So, he goes over the line. And of course, I'm just, and we get in the car. And I'm just thinking, what do you say? What do you say? What do you say? I mean, you want to burst out in tears and go, I'm so sorry. Right? I'm so sorry. I said, well, how did that feel? And he said, great. I said, really? He said, yeah. He said, you know, I beat the coach's time for me by 25 seconds. I was like, man, I want to run my classroom like a cross-country meet. That's as pretty as it gets. Did you go faster than you did the last time? Did you beat your own record? Even Sandy Roberts needs to worry about that. See what I'm saying? So you came in first. Did you run faster than you ran before? And that's a fairness issue. Everybody needs to push more. Did you invest your time? Did you actually get faster? Praise versus encouragement. Expect time invested in learning. If their homework isn't taking it, find something that does. Celebrate their time. Seventh thing is to be a talent scout. Find things that they're good at and find the resources to put with them. If they show an interest in something, get a book about it. If they show more interest, find a mentor. Feed their passions. As you see them, you drop hooks and expose them to things, and they start getting interested, you find a way to feed it. It's what we wish we could do with every child in the classroom, and we don't have the time to be able to do it. We count on you to be able to do it. And the last thing is what you've done today, and that is find other people who have children like your children and get the support from them. It's difficult for people that aren't parenting the same kind of child to understand what your particular issues are and your particular problems are. So find those parents and get the support from them. You've got a library that's been put up. Mimi Carter has gotten these books in every single elementary library, and she's bought copies of them today for you to be able to look through. Find those resources that are available to you that are going to help you along the way. And this is the last thing I want you to see. If you've ever been to Florence and you've seen David, the most amazing thing about David is what you see on the way to David. Isn't that the way it always is? On the way to David. Because on the way to David, what you see are marbles that Michelangelo started but didn't finish for whatever reason. And that's where you are in parenting. You can see a leg, you can see a foot, sometimes you can just see a big toe. You're starting to see these gifts evolve out of that stone. And your job is going to be to chisel in the right way, at the right places, at the right time to be able to make that David along the way. You guys have been a blast. Thank you, Mimi. Thank you.